Hello, everybody. This is Mark Sage, the Executive Director of the Area AR Enterprise Alliance. And I'm really excited to be here with one of my old friends. Well, she's not old, but long time kind of acquaintance and someone that I've been managed to spend some time with, Lauren Marvel from now AWS. Lauren, thank you very much for taking some time out to speak to us today. I know you have a deep understanding and expertise in the AR space, so thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and please feel free to give your insight. So please just introduce yourself a little bit more, your kind of background in AR, and perhaps what you see as the current key industry use cases.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for having me, Mark. Yeah, it's great to see you again. Hopefully someday in person. Again, I'll start at the very beginning, if that's okay. By degree, my bachelor's is in mathematics, with a heavy slant towards computer science, and I have a master's in engineering management. So cat wrangling for engineers. I've worked in a variety of industries. I started my career in missile systems, doing system test integration on some well-known missiles that are out there. I've done nuclear emergency planning for nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, also a systems test type role, and then I kind of ventured off back into systems test engineering at a shipyard, a very large American shipyard that builds nuclear powered aircraft carriers and nuclear powered submarines. A lot of people think that when I say shipyard, even when I say nuclear powered, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like you bring a ship in and you just maintain it. Yeah. So aircraft carriers are basically floating cities
Mm.
that have to exist under their own power for a very long period of time. And so when you think about it in that perspective, it's every industry in one area. And so that experience led me to an augmented reality team that was there. And so for the better part of 4 or 5 years ish, I did lots of augmented reality projects that were specific to shipbuilding. But again, crosses every kind of industry, whether it's, if you think of literally everything in a city, there's electricity, there's mechanical stuff, there's painting, there's coding, there's every variety. And so our projects were that they touched on everything. Um, Currently, I work with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and I've been here for about a year, almost a year and a half. I'm a specialist solutions architect in our spatial computing group, in our worldwide specialist organization. So that's just a very long-winded way of saying that I specialize in spatial computing, which to us we define as all of the realities: augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, any kind of 3D data that has a spatial component to it, such as the location. um, can be considered under this umbrella of spatial computing. So, for the better part of a year and a half, I've been working with customers to figure out what spatial computing can mean to them, what is the smartest, most efficient, most intelligent way to incorporate the technologies that are out there. And so that's kind of my background and where I'm at.
Fantastic. Just to add on to that, I know you have lots of experience. What do you see as some of the key industry use cases? What are
Oh,
customers you've been talking to customers about?
oh gosh. So my background, as I stated, is industrial, right? So that's my sweet spot. I love it. I adore it. But a lot of the industry now that I work with has come from a gaming background. And
Mm.
so there's a lot more media and entertainment type things that are out there. But there's also this very interesting thing that I was not prepared for necessarily when I came over, which was this notion of the metaverse, right? I'm trying not to say the M word, because it means so much to so many different people.
Hmm.
But this notion of these virtual collaboration spaces
Mm. Mm.
beyond a Zoom type meeting or a Teams type call or a Chime type call, it being more persistent. And for businesses that want to have these persistent virtual spaces where, you know, they pay to develop this huge space, and then customers or vendors that they work with can kind of come and also engage on that platform, has actually been quite driving
Mm,
in pushing, at least from the AWS side, pushing the envelope on what this technology can do. But still, very much industry is pushing lots of construction companies, lots of manufacturing companies. Um, that are looking to do QA, that are looking to utilize and leverage the 3D data that they have, right? We all know how to get 3D data. We all know how to love it. We all know how to hoard it. we are,
mm,
we're not quite as good at sharing it and doing that kind of thing. So those enterprises are looking for solutions and to those issues. So, QA is always going to be a big one. Virtual training is obviously a very big one. AR, especially in when you're in situ, when you want to be in the location and you don't have, you've got a piece of equipment, or let's say there's a company that has assembly lines and you only have two assembly lines. So difficult to train when those assembly lines are up a lot. But
mm,
if you can train while they're going without having to have people touch, but you can point out different things as they go, that's a very compelling use case. So there's many use cases.
mhm.
We could probably have an entire chat about that. But those will forever be the big ones. And like I said, the one that I wasn't prepared for, which is this persistent virtual collaboration space. So
And I like that
big.
because I think it's also bringing the supply chain together. It's
Yeah.
bringing all elements of it. There's a lot of people, I think, collaboration, they think in within their kind of teams or maybe within their company, but actually collaborating on new ideas and new products across the whole supply chain means it becomes more efficient. You get people kind of bought
Yep.
into it early and stuff like that. So I think that's a really, really interesting use case, and I'm certainly seeing lots of that. As
Yep.
a big theme at the
It's
moment.
everywhere.
It's everywhere, indeed it is. Yeah. So let's what's kind of AWS doing? Talk a little bit more, and how are you kind of helping the AR ecosystem?
So what we're doing, we have several different layers of approaches to customers. As a specialist SA, I'm kind of the first layer of real introduction to the technology, and so it's really diving deep with them, working backwards from them to see what their needs are. So a lot of customers might come and they say, "Oh, we heard the metaverse can
Mm,
solve all of our problems."
mm,
And so it's kind of popping that hype bubble a bit and then digging deep into what problem are they trying to solve. Sometimes they don't need what they think they might have needed, and there's a much more elegant solution or simpler solution, or they have something very complex where this technology is needed. So I help them understand what their needs are and the options that are out there. And then there are, several other approaches after that. We have internal prototyping teams
mhm,
that if there's kind of a something new that AWS hasn't tried, or if there's a new feature that we haven't really um, spent a lot of time with, we might have a prototyping team work with a customer to kind of proof it out a bit.
mm. Nice.
um, but if there is something that, we've all seen, like work instructions, right? Augmented reality work instructions. It might not be as straightforward as we'd all like it to be to put together right now, but that's not really a unique use case anymore, right? And so that wouldn't so much be prototyping. It would probably go to what we have is our professional services.
Right.
Um, there, they can actually build for customers, but we also have a very robust partner network, and so we're constantly working and vetting new companies with new capabilities. Um, occasionally or not occasionally, but often will help these companies kind of build out their product a little bit more so that it can help customers, um, so we can help them build solutions for customers. But that ecosystem, our partner ecosystem, is constantly evolving. But we do have some very core partners that we work with that we know, we trust, and that can do things. Some will come and, kind of the big SIs will come and they can help a company if they don't have the internal resources and kind of build out a whole solution. Or we have, let's say, for virtual collaboration spaces, we have a number of different partners that have kind of unique attributes to them. And so, depending on the use case, depending on the size of the customer, depending on exactly what they need, they might have resources that are very skilled in web development, but don't have the expertise to create the content. So, you know, there's several different ways that we can engage with the customer to help them get what it is that they need um, out of any of those avenues.
Perfect. So digging out to a bit deeper, Lauren, and yeah, you mentioned before about kind of content and data. And I think that's really important. It's kind of one of the challenges we have in the industry. So you maybe talk a little bit about AWS's approach to helping customers leverage that data for kind of AI use cases. What can you actually help them do?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned before, there is so much data out there. There's 3D data, there's 2D data, there's, analysis data, and companies have a lot of it. There's a lot of redundant data, especially, I mean, I would say larger companies, but even in smaller companies, if you have a separate engineering team from QA team or marketing team, if you just have those teams within a company, you might all actually be working with the same data, but just in different uses,
Mm,
different and different ways that you need to optimize that data. So, one of the very big things that we've done last November, we open sourced a 3D content management system called Visual Asset Management System, or VAMS for short. And its goal is to serve as a central repository for these assets so that they are easily shareable, they're easily locatable, and each version is linked to the original. So, if you go in and you say, hey, let's say I'm a manufacturing company, I'm working on an engine, you find that engine and you can do what you need to do to it without having to recreate that model. You can
mm,
just implement your own workflow on it or pipeline. Um, but it allows it to easily be shared. So there's several different means of uploading the data, customizing these. We call them pipelines and workflows. And a pipeline could be a conversion. It could be an optimization, right? We know, especially when we're specifically talking about AR, that CAD models are way too heavy for our purposes or for that specific use case in general. And so I would say making it dumber, stripping it down, getting that polygon count down, stripping out data that you don't need from that model, right? You don't need all of the engineering data for most AR use cases.
mhm,
And in some cases, you just need a box outline, but you need it to be in a very specific place, or you need very specific pieces and components of that. And so, being able to utilize that same asset for these different purposes and outcomes was very important. And so that's what VAMS is intended to do. What it does is creates somewhat of a foundation. So I'm going to throw out a totally unscientific statistic, and we say it's about 75% complete, but the other 25% is really up to the user to
right.
create the value out of it for themselves. So we can't we can't guess how everybody is going to be using data. We don't know exactly how people are going to be converting things. And so it is open source. And so if you do create those kinds of um, you know workflows and pipelines or conversions or things, and you put them back into the repo, the smarter it gets. But you can also take it and just, keep it for yourself and have it, customize it to your own needs and have it do great things for you. The team that's creating that is involved. It's not that we've open sourced it and just say, okay, world, you have it.
Mhm.
Go forward and do great things. It's actively being worked on. So there's some pretty good documentation out there. There's a workshop that's being updated to get you started. Yeah, it's just
Fantastic.
yeah,
Awesome.
it's awesome.
That's
We love
great.
it.
Brilliant. Lauren, we could go on and
So
on. I know we could talk about all
we
sorts of
could.
different things, but we need to stop it there. We're trying to keep these short and thought leadership stuff. So thank you very much. Look
Yep.
forward to working with you, and thank you very much for all you do in the AR ecosystem.
Yep.
And we'll
Thank you,
catch up
Mark.
again soon.
Yep.
Thanks so much.
See
Bye.
ya.